Hey friends, in this video, we're going to break down one of the most popular arbitrage strategies in the crypto market, funding arbitrage. We'll go over how this strategy works. I'll explain all the details and risks, and I'll also show you how to find arbitrage opportunities, how to enter trades, and how to make a profit from it. So make sure to watch the video till the end, give it a like, and subscribe to our channel. Alright, let's get started. Let's start with the basics. What is funding? On perpetual futures contracts, which don't have an expiration date, there's a funding mechanism. This mechanism helps balance the price between spot and futures. If the funding rate is highly negative, it means short traders pay long traders and vice versa. If the funding rate is highly positive, then long traders pay short traders. This mechanism keeps the futures price close to the spot price so they don't diverge too much. Now, let's break down how funding arbitrage works. The essence of funding arbitrage is extremely simple. We lock in a position to stay market neutral. That is, we have a spot position, either long, and we also have a short position. So we remain in a neutral position, and basically it doesn't matter to us whether the market goes up or down because we have offsetting trades. Our goal here is to earn solely from the funding, which is charged every period. The periods can vary, every 8 hours, 6, 3, or 2 hours. It all depends on the market's volatility. Standard funding is charged every 8 hours. So we simply enter a position in advance, lock in, so to speak, the price, and then we just wait for the funding to be charged. Once it's charged, we can close the position. And this funding that we receive can vary. 0.5%, 1.5%, even 2%, and sometimes even more. And this gets credited to our position. Let me explain with an example. There's a token, it doesn't matter which one. For example, let's take Solana. So we buy Solana, either spot or futures, and we remember the number of Solana tokens we're buying. Let's say we buy 20 Solana. For the same amount, we need to open an opposite position, meaning a short position. We have a spot position or a long, and at the same time, we open a short position so that we lock in the price. Because if the market goes up, our spot or long position will be making us a profit, while the short will be in the red. And vice versa, if the price drops, we'll make a profit from the short. And from the position, our losses, either from the long, will be negative. Naturally, these positions offset each other. We're in a neutral position. Our goal is simply to wait for the funding to be paid out. Let's break it down with an example to see how much you can earn. Let's take $1,000. If the funding rate is 0.5, then $5 of profit will be credited to our position. But we can increase this profit by using leverage. But it's very important not to go overboard with leverage. You can't use high leverage. Let's take 5 times leverage as an example. If we use 5 times leverage, then instead of $1,000, our position is valued at $5,000, and the funding is calculated based on the position size in the trade, not the amount you put in, which is $1,000, but the total position size. With 5 times leverage, our position size is $5,000. So instead of being charged 0.5% on our initial amount, it's 2.5%. That comes out to 25 bucks. So we're making 5 times more profit. Instead of 5, we're getting $25. Now let's talk about the risks of funding arbitrage. And the first risk is liquidation. Like I mentioned before, you can't use high leverage because you could get liquidated. We use a maximum of 5 times leverage. At the same time, we also need to have enough margin on the exchange so we don't get liquidated. If you use 20 times or 30 times leverage and the market moves against you, you could get liquidated, and we definitely don't want that. That's why we stick to low leverage. The second risk is the spread between spot and futures collapsing. When closing a position, prices can move against us, and we might end up closing the position at a loss. Let's say we have a long position, and where we're long, the trade goes short, and where we're short, the trade goes long. In other words, the prices diverge, and we might end up closing in an unfavorable position. How do we manage this risk? You can simply wait out the trade, or as soon as you notice the price is starting to diverge, you can close the position early. Yes, you might take a small loss, but by locking it in early, you avoid a bigger price gap and don't end up waiting too long for the prices to converge again so you can close the position. But this kind of risk is extremely rare. The third risk is a change in the funding rate. The exchange uses the funding rate to keep futures prices in line with the spot price. And at the last moment, though this is also extremely rare, exchanges can change the rate. For example, it might have been positive for us, but then it turns negative. Instead of receiving funding for our position, we end up having to pay it. So this risk also exists, and while it's quite rare, it's still important to keep an eye on the funding rate. If the funding rate changes sharply, it's better to close the trade and exit. And the last, fourth risk is the commission. Of course, exchanges charge commissions when opening and closing trades, and it's important to make sure your profit covers the commission. For example, if you make $5 but pay $6 in commission, what's the point of that arbitrage? Obviously, there's no point. That's why the commission should be less than your profit. But now for the most interesting part, how to find funding arbitrage opportunities. There are scanners, screeners, and services that let you track funding rates across different exchanges. Personally, I use Arbitrage Scanner. They have a convenient table. Go to Arbitrage Products, then Arbitrage/funding rate right here in this tab. It's completely free for everyone. You can also choose the language you prefer, a Russian, English, or another one. I use it in English, I'm already used to it. This table shows tokens with a spread and the max funding rate difference. For example, OKX is at minus 0.016, GAY is minus 0.01685, and MEXC is minus 0.73. You can easily compare these rates across different exchanges here. Our task here is to find the smallest funding rate. From what I can see, it's probably the OKX exchange. Gate's funding rate is small. OKX and Gate have lower rates, while MEXC's is higher. The largest is CoinX at minus 1.5%. So rates differ between CoinX, OKX, and Gate. What should we do? Where the funding rate is negative, short sellers pay long holders. So we go long. Here, since the funding rate is even more negative, we'll be earning 1.5% on our position. So here on CoinX, we go long. Where the funding rate is less negative, we go short. There, we'll pay 0.14% on our position, but we'll be earning 1.5%. So our profit covers the funding we have to pay and also covers the fees. So this is a good trade to enter. Thanks to the convenient table in Arbitrage Scanner, you can track funding rates across different exchanges. It really has all the popular top exchanges, which you probably already have accounts on. There are also tons of tokens you can track as well. Besides that, they also have a funding arbitrage bot that lets you avoid sitting and monitoring everything yourself. You can just set up notifications and you'll get alerts so you can jump in and collect your profits. Let me show you this bot and how to use it. This is what the bot looks like. It's called the Arbitrage Scanner Funding Bot. When you go into it, connect, and hit the start button, it'll prompt you to log in. You go in and log in. By the way, this bot is only available with a Guru subscription, so that's important to know too. Next, you can go straight to the best funding tab and choose the time frame. An hour, 30 minutes, 5 minutes for example. Let's pick 30 minutes. It will show you the exchange and, accordingly, the tokens that have funding. Let's take a look at the very first one for example. Here we have the Apex token KTA, short on Apex because the funding is positive, and long on LBank because the funding is negative. It shows us the funding, the deduction time, when the funding will be deducted, and at what time it will happen according to the time zone you set in the bot. It also shows how much time is left until the funding is deducted. Here there are 8 minutes left until the funding fee is charged. You can also check the amount in tokens. And all of this is conveniently tracked across different exchanges. BingX, MEXC. You can also customize all these exchanges to your preferences. Let's move on to that as well. Click on the menus, then click Start. Next, you can select Settings and choose the exchanges. Here, you pick the exchanges you're interested in. Then you can set the time, funding, long, short, adjust the spread between prices, funding spread. All of this can be customized for you. So you can set exactly the options you need and then set up notifications. Click on Notifications. That's it. Now you'll get notifications about funding directly in the bot, and you don't have to sit there monitoring it manually. You just set up the notifications. As soon as funding appears, you get a notification, you enter the trade, and just wait for the funding to be deducted. Then you take your profit. This way, you can easily check funding rates, and you can also see the top funding rates on different exchanges, for example, on the Bing exchange. And that's it. You'll see the top funding rates on BingX, the most positive and the most negative ones. So you can also track everything here as conveniently as possible through the Telegram bot. So that's another feature, and it's available with the Guru subscription. So those who use the Guru subscription, those who have purchased it, can use the funding bot to look for funding arbitrage opportunities. In addition to that, the Arbitrage Scanner also has futures arbitrage. This is also one of the most popular strategies, and we make videos about it too. So be sure to subscribe and check out other videos on our channel. Here, you can do arbitrage between futures, spot futures. You can choose a strategy, futures to futures, spot to futures, or futures to spot. Then below, in a convenient table, you'll see the token, the spread history, the buy exchange, the sell exchange, and the profit you'll earn. You can also check the funding rate, which is also displayed here in the table, and you can customize it to your needs. There are also a ton of detailed settings here. Get Telegram alerts easily. Arbitrage Scanner is essential for any trader. CEX and DEX arbitrage is supported with notifications, so you don't have to wait. When an alert arrives, just log in and take your profit. Use Arbitrage Scanner. They have several types of subscriptions. This is the starter, business, and enterprise plans. And by the way, starting from the Guru subscription, the funding bot becomes available. They also have a VIP option, and there's even a subscription for whales. The more months you sign up for, the better the deal on your subscription. And I have a promo code, Nikita Arbitrage, which will double your subscription. With the subscription, we already have access to futures arbitrage. We also have a DEX scanner available from Platinum. You can arbitrage on DEXs, and under each subscription, basically it's written what it gives you. With the Guru subscription, you'll also get a personal web manager with whom you can call. He'll help you solve all your questions. access to the website, events, and a private community where people also share their arbitrage deals. And basically, arbitrage traders communicate there, and you can catch a lot of different insider tips. So choose a subscription that suits you best. And of course, the link to the Arbitrage Scanner is in the description. Well, I hope this video was useful for you. We went over funding arbitrage, what it is, how it works, how to enter and exit trades, how to make money from it, and how to find opportunities using the Arbitrage Scanner. If you found this video helpful, be sure to leave a comment. I'd be interested to read them. Give it a like, share it with your friends so they can learn how to do funding arbitrage too. Check out the other videos on our channel. I'll see you in the next videos. Bye everyone!